What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Logical Response. I cover political news. I'm trying to get that right, y'all. I'm trying to get it right. And it saddens me to have to do another story about the southern border, about this issue specifically. Check this out, y'all. Feds have no idea where tens of thousands of unaccompanied migrant kids are, Inspector General says. This is just heartbreaking. The fact that this open border policy from the Biden administration has resulted in hundreds of thousands of kids being just dropped off across the border. They just throw them over the fence where there's fences, just hand them off to CBP from coyotes. It's not even that. It's like, where are these kids' parents at? You know what I mean? They send their kids here. It's just insane. A lot of these kids get trafficked into places that they shouldn't get trafficked into, if you catch my drift. I'm trying to keep it softcore for YouTube right here, but I think you understand what I'm saying. It kind of feels like I'm losing my voice a little bit, but whatever. I'm going to keep talking anyway. I don't care. Let's get into it. The federal government has lost track of unaccompanied migrant children who have crossed the border since fiscal year 2019, according to a Tuesday report from the Department of Homeland Security's Office of Inspector General. The DHS OIG report states that Immigration and Customs Enforcement personnel are unable to track all unaccompanied minors who have crossed the border and have been released from the custody of DHS and the Department of Health and Human Services since fiscal year 2019, and that the agency does not know where at least 32,000 of these minors are at. The OIG believes unaccompanied minors to be a greater risk of trafficking, forced labor, or exploitation than other migrants arriving at the border. Yeah, you think? That's common sense. These kids get put into very, very precarious situations, right? You already got this situation where they don't have their parents, right? They get handed off to some cartel member, for crying out loud. Then they get trafficked over to the United States. And then, guess what? They get dropped off to CBP. And then, because Biden doesn't want to have the optics of having kids in cages, he tries to rush these kids into foster care without vetting, right? Like, he has turned down the vetting process for some of these people. It's utterly insane. That's the last video talking about unaccompanied migrant children that I covered, that they don't know where some of these kids went, and that some of these kids are being put specifically into trafficking rings, for crying out loud, being put with gang members, for crying out loud. Yeah, they just completely stopped vetting some of these people. They released several dozen kids into the custody of gang members, of known gang members. They knowingly did this, not accidentally, not because they didn't vet them, but they knew that these people, right, and didn't care because they didn't want the optics of having kids in cages like Donald Trump did. Because, we saw AOC with that picture of her standing there crying at the border fence, just with her head down, crying. And then that one, she's looking like this, and you got a single tear running down her freaking face. Just insane optics right there, right? Like, talking about Trump putting kids in cages. Yeah, that's the reason. That's outright the reason. It's insane to me, and this is why I call the Biden administration evil, and why I say he is destroying the country, because of issues like this. Just doesn't care about the lives that's getting destroyed. If you would shut that border down and not let these people in, you know what? They would stop sending their kids, and their kids wouldn't get put in these situations. It's utterly logical to think that way, and insane to think that they would allow this to take place, right? And it's not as if they didn't know this was going to happen. This has been going on for decades. Just insane, and it pisses me off to no end. Additionally, the report found that the actual number of minors unaccounted for could be much larger if ICE had put an additional 291,000 unaccompanied minors into removal proceedings. Not undertaking these proceedings increases the chance that ICE loses contact with those unaccompanied minors, thereby reducing the agency's ability to check and verify their safety. Now, I don't agree with that. If a kid gets dropped off at our southern border, immigration laws be damned at that point. You take that kid, you find a good home for that kid. You want to send thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids to our southern border? Be my freaking guest. That is one issue I will say, come one, come all. But all these other people that are coming, no, I'm sorry. Make your own country great again. Don't come here to destroy ours. But, I would be totally fine with that. Now, could we handle that? No, we couldn't. But you would find a way to make it happen. At some point they would shut it down. But, deporting these kids is just, it's unconscionable to me because they showed up on our shores. We have the ability to give these kids a good life, right? We can put them somewhere where they have a much better chance of being raised up with some good moral values and have a chance at life rather than sending them back out into the wild where they could just, disappear into the ether, essentially. I would much rather pay taxes to pay for these kids than to send them back out. That's one issue. I'm a staunch border security guy, right? I can't stand that Biden has this border wide open like he does. It's insane to me, knowing that it can destroy communities, cities, people's lives because criminals are coming in, blah, 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 and they're not vetting these people. Terrorists are coming across our southern border. But when it involves children, that makes it a totally different story, right? If these kids come here without their parents, if the cartel drops them off, it is unconscionable that the United States government would just deport these kids. Where are they deporting these kids to? Who are they giving them to? That's what I would love to know. 291,000. That's insane to me. ICE could not monitor the location and status of all unaccompanied migrant children or initiate removal proceedings as needed, the OIG report states. During our ongoing audit to assess ICE's ability to monitor the location and status of UCs who were released or transferred from the custody of DHS and HHS, we learned ICE transferred more than 448,000 UCs to HHS from fiscal years 2019 to 2023. However, ICE was not able to account for the location of all UCs who were released by HHS and did not appear as scheduled in immigration court. ICE reported more than 32,000 UCs failed to appear for their immigration court hearings from fiscal years 2019 to 2023. That's insane. Why are they giving these kids an immigration hearing status? Why? That's crazy. That is the one issue, once again, that I would be totally fine with just giving these kids that just show up on our shores, just dropped off by a coyote, by the cartels, whatever, just dropped off. I would be just fine with just giving these kids citizenship automatically. I would be fine with that. As of May 2024, ICE personnel had not given notices to appear in court to more than 291,000 unaccompanied minors, meaning that those children did not have an immigration court date as of then, the Watchdog's report reads. Additionally, DHS OIG warned in its report that ICE had limited oversight and guidance for unaccompanied migrant children who failed to appear in court and cannot accurately or effectively share court information on unaccompanied migrant children released from DHS and HHS custody. The report lays out corrective measures for ICE to pursue in order to alleviate some of the issues at hand, including improved data sharing between federal stakeholders. ICE concurred with the recommended courses of action. The DHS OIG based its report on a review of ICE data as well as interviews with more than 100 officials spanning a number of agencies and offices involved in processing unaccompanied minors who cross the border. The OIG's interviews with those officials also included meetings with ICE field offices in Miami, Los Angeles, St. Paul, Philadelphia, San Diego, Baltimore, Houston, Dallas, New York, and Chicago. Wow. ICE declined to comment, while the DHS and HHS did not respond immediately for requests for comment. That's just insane. I imagine they wouldn't either. After losing 32,000 kids and going through that many unaccompanied minors, I had no idea that we had that many unaccompanied minors showing up to our southern border, right? Where are these kids' parents? What the hell is going on with this? This is a travesty, if you ask me, that these kids just show up, just get dropped off to CBP. It's mind-blowing. Like, if we had the resources, I would love to go after these kids' parents criminally. Like, what are you doing? Like, you send them here for a better life, but by giving them to a cartel, are you out of your freaking mind, people? Like, that just blows my mind. Like, what point do you have to get to where you'll give your child to a cartel member instead of trying to do something in your own community to make it better? You just give your kid up so they can have a better life? Is that really the reason? Right? Like, the reason I want to go after these people criminally is because I don't think that's the reason. I think that's a BS reason. If you love your kid enough that you would give them to a cartel, I don't think you really love your kid. That you would send them to a foreign country to have a better life, yet you don't love that kid. You do not love that child. I'm sorry. You don't. That's just my opinion. Let me know if you have a different opinion down in the comments section. But think about your opinion before you give it, because that's insane to me. How would you give your kid to a cartel member knowing that they could possibly be put into some trafficking ring where they could get abused outright? And they do, and it happens constantly. We have people in this country that do it. Which, that is one of the most evil things in my opinion, and should be put to a halt. Like, how do we get in there and how do we stop this from happening? We've got to change the culture, folks. And right now, our culture is going in the wrong direction for that. And I know it's not our culture that's doing this, right? It's other cultures. And there ain't much we can actually do about that. But the people that are doing it in this country, we can. We can make it unthinkable, totally unconscionable to put a kid into a situation where they could possibly get abused in such a manner. That's insane to me. It's insane that people allow this to happen. It's insane to me that we have people working for our government, for crying out loud, that would knowingly give children that have already been abused by being given to a cartel, knowingly give these kids to gang members that could possibly put these kids in a situation to get abused. That blows my freaking mind. We've had CBP agents. We've had National Guard get accused, arrested, thrown in jail, sentenced, all that good garb for this very thing, for putting kids in situations where they get abused intentionally. That blows my mind every single time. It shouldn't anymore after reading all the news articles that I've read on this crap. It shouldn't, but it does every single time because it's so unconscionable to me. It's the furthest thing from anything that I would ever want to find myself in that situation, right? Just the furthest thing away. Like, that would never happen. I couldn't imagine me getting into any situation where that would be the case. It's like, so how do people do this? How do people live with themselves? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And how does the U.S. government feel about knowing that they've lost that many kids? That's just insane to me. And that's why I call this administration evil, because they're allowing for it to happen. They're not trying to stop it. They're not trying to do anything to make it stop. right? Kamala Harris went and tried to find the root causes, y'all. And come to find out, she didn't do a damn thing. Didn't do anything. She was trying to figure out ways that they could funnel money to these third world countries. Right? Like, that's ridiculous. You're trying to grow their economy to make that situation better in their country by giving money to a criminal organization or a very, very corrupt government. That's not how that works. You can't fix problems by just throwing money at it. But Democrats seem to think that's how things work. That's not how things work. That is not how things work. Elon Musk could, if he could somehow take his net worth and put it into cash and have that cash on hand, he would not be able to fix the hunger problem that we have in our country. People starving. Would not be able to fix it. Yeah, sure, he might be able to buy everybody a meal or 2 meals or 6 meals. But after that, they're just going to be hungry again. It's just insane. You can't fix issues by just throwing money at it. Which I don't know how I got off on this topic, but I think I've rambled on long enough for this one, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments section. Does this make you guys sick to your stomach? Make you feel like you're losing your voice because of it? Because you're yelling so much at the damn camera? Let me know what y'all think. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.